Hey. Live on Poppy First, live on YouTube. This is a different view. I feel like this camera's in tight.
See, it's down right there. It is. You got all the cameras. It is tight.
All the cameras. It's like you're hitting every angle right now. This is pop, pop, pop.
So you can't be
I'm just saying.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, I'm excited. Great topic tonight. I feel like stems from a conversation we had over the weekend, especially with all the political talk that's been going on lately. I think it's a great conversation to have,
Yeah, I think it's a timely conversation, man. So, we might as well get started.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Bender Sr.
Chris Jr. here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. As always, my brother is not with us at the moment. He'll be here shortly. He had to work a little late today. We're working young man. But as he would always say, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, communicate, chat with us, guys. Like, we definitely need that interaction. We love that interaction. I feel like we do get some positive feedback generally after we produce or put out the show. But yeah, we want to continue to grow that. So let's go now. Ready?
Yeah, we do. Ready to go. So let's dig right in. So the topic of the day is the system broken?
It's telling me to.
Democrats,
Republicans. So good at fading that.
Is the system broken? Democrats, Republicans, or Libertarians all contribute to poor schools, gun violence, and the constant threat of government shutdown.
Yeah.
Pretty much sums it all up, man. So what we're going to talk about is the system broken, and what are some solutions? Do we blow the whole thing up? Do we just kind of tear it down a little bit and rebuild? Do we put term limits on? Like, you got people with, they can just
lifetime
until they die.
Man.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm not for that anymore. But I definitely can acknowledge that the system is broken in all types of ways. And it's not just a black or white thing. I think it's broken for a lot of people at the moment, where they just feel like it's either corporate greed, where none of us can get ahead or get by, or destroying the middle class. Politicians constantly saying one thing and then doing another, and it's on both sides. And I think there's a generation of people that are starting to get tired of it. And sometimes what that creates is these people who can come in and just be polarizing and then win people over just off of that because they're just looking for something.
Well, I think it is.
So I definitely think that should be some type of acknowledgement, like something wrong with the system.
But I think it is a black and white thing, not black over white, but they purposely put us against each other. Yeah. They purposely put us against each other, and they play that by making one group of people seem like the other group of people, is getting over, or getting certain things that the other group is not getting. And I think that's why we have the politics we have, because while we're so busy fighting each other, we keep allowing these guys to get in there who's not even servicing our community, man, who show up every 4 years, every 2 years to kiss some babies and shake some hands and go to a few churches, and we vote for them. But yet nothing changes. We have poor schools. Inner city schools are just as bad now as they were 5 years ago. Probably worse, 10 years ago.
All right, but what's actually kind of crazy, to your point of getting out and voting, I think that everybody keeps saying that, your generation got to get out and vote, get out and do this. But what is that doing? It seems like, what is that producing? Which even drives us to this point of saying, like, man,
but that's not true. The last election between Biden and Trump,
people believe in Biden.
But hear me out. The amount of people who did not vote in that election, registered voters, could have swung the election. So not voting is not the answer, because the amount of people who did not vote in that election could have swung the election. Could have been a difference maker. So I guess if they would have showed up and voted, well, the point.
What does it mean? When you feel like your vote means nothing, like you just saying get out and vote.
But you allow people. You allow people to get in
You're
office.
voting for these people that you don't believe in. Like
listen to me. That's not true. You can, if you be involved in the process from the beginning, you can pick a candidate. You can't just show up at the presidential election and think, wow, I'm going to change the world. Now I got to vote who's there. It starts at grassroots.
Maybe the problem is the pool of candidates that we have sometimes.
And I'm not disagreeing, but when you don't vote, you allow the pool of candidates to become what they are. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I look at, and I'm not anti-Biden. However, how did the Democrats go 4 years without coming up with a suitable replacement? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. How in 4 years you don't find a suitable replacement. Now, I go back to what I said before, because we don't vote And when we do vote, we not educated. We just go put a lever straight Democrat, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
or Republican, or like some libertarians don't even realize they can't vote in the primaries. So you don't even have to say who the candidate's going to be. So I think it's a combination of things. But I do agree with you that the pool of candidates are not the best. However, if people got together and said, you know what, if Gen X or whatever got together and said we're gonna get our own candidate, we're gonna stand behind them, that person would be elected.
I mean, but like again, what if you feel like that candidate is not adequate?
No, but that's what I said. You get behind, you pick a candidate.
Like who? Like,
I don't know who you choose a candidate that you're going to support. I'm not talking about the existing pool. If Gen X or millennials got together and got no, it's not. You look around. There's local politicians who probably will make a good candidate who never make it off the local level. So I mean, you can't say all of them are bad.
Like how do we get those type of people in that position? Like
you got to vote. You got to get involved in the process. You got to do your homework. You can't just go in the primary and pull a Democrat.
They're in some type of position already, right?
But you got to find those. Like Obama came out of the grassroots. You got to go find them and you got to support them and you got to support them through the process. You can't wait until. Whenever you wait till you get to anything, that's like if you picking last in the draft. You only get to choose what's left. You don't get to choose. You get to choose what's left in the pool.
We had to find Obama.
Yeah, Obama just came at the right time. He was charismatic. People noticed him, and he got picked up. But he's not the only. What you think he was the only candidate? No, and I'm not saying it's easy, but not voting is not the solution. Not being involved, like I work the polls, man. And people come in, they're totally uneducated. I'm voting Democrat because I'm Democrat, and some Democrats.
But that's all people do, and I think it's like this blind loyalty to it. I wish it was another party that could honestly be.
But another party ain't gonna fix it because people still gonna vote the same way. This is not gonna change. What's gonna change by adding another party? People are not going to become any more educated in voting. People are going to be duped by people who are charismatic.
But then, I mean, it's still an issue with, I would say, the system, even if the education part's there.
I agree. So add another party is not the answer because you still got uneducated people.
Yeah, I mean,
I think your original statement was absolutely correct. You got to get better candidates, but you got to get behind candidates at an early stage because unfortunately, and I'll say it again, a lot of those guys, by the time they get to that point, they owe so many people in the political arena, and they owe so many favors that they can't do anything for the people.
Yeah,
because I got 15 people I got to pay back. That's not the camera. I got 15 people I got to pay back.
Now, I'm late to this, so can you break this down with me own favors and?
You know what, Devin? I'm coming to you. Devin and Chris, you represent 1 million people. You represent 1 million people. So you know what? If I get in office, man, I'm going to pass legislation that's going to benefit you. I'm telling him the same thing. Just like people who own the NRA, they sold their souls. They sold their souls to get backing from the NRA. So now they're not going to get me involved against gun legislation. So that's what I mean about old people.
I mean, but
it's favors.
It's these lobbyists.
I
those
agree.
People who kind of really controlling the system and the government, I think. And that's a whole nother problem itself. Like, I think that people don't kind of to the point I made before about just how everything's just ran by a dollar. It's a capitalistic society.
But it's ran by that because people don't get involved. It goes back to my point. People don't get involved, man. People just sit back, they watch. It's like the guys who go to the barbershop and had the greatest conversations in the barbershop, but do nothing else. It's great to be in the barbershop talking all this great stuff, but what are you doing to change it? And I'm not saying if you start today, you're going to change it tomorrow. It's a generational thing. It runs deep. But if you don't do anything, I say this all the time. Whatever you don't confront is going to confront you. And what we're dealing with right now is everything you just said we never confronted.
But I think it's tough too, because it's just like a lack of trust, like from people in the system and the government, and it's not that easy to just be
I feel like nothing changes.
Yeah, it's not that easy to just be like, yo, but you gotta vote, you gotta do this.
But how do you change it if you don't participate in the system that puts them in office?
It's unfortunate. It's kind of like maybe it's
like a dog chasing tail. You can't say nothing changes if you don't do anything to change it. It don't work like that.
It's like that person who I feel like you got cheated on and you're scared to get back out there because you can't just trust the game anymore like that. It's going
They
to
get
take some time.
they get that. Yeah, but this is your life.
gonna
This
take
ain't
some
no
time.
relationship. This is
Relationship
see,
life too.
No, this is you talking about when you talk about politics. You talk about generational damage. You're talking about if you decide to have kids, if you get in a relationship, you determine if that's generational damage by how long it takes you to heal. But they're passing, for instance, they're taking history out. On one hand, you complain that African Americans don't know their history, so they do the stuff they do, but you take it out of the school, or you rewriting it, to favor a certain ethnic group of people. Not participating in the system does not change that.
So where's our president in that?
It's
And
not,
making sure that.
I'm not disagreeing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not riding a bike and horse like he's the savior. I'm not saying that. So don't get me wrong. But it's not just him. They even starts at a lower level. Where's all these people that get out here and march for something less than that? Because in Florida, see, this is what happens. And I think this is one, to your point, why people get disenfranchised or disappointed with the political system, because we don't think globally. We don't think globally. We think it's not happening in Philadelphia, so I don't care. We don't realize it's a subtle thing that's going to slowly go across the country. Slavery didn't happen all over the place. It started a state at a time. It started with a group of people at a time. And I'm not saying we're going back to slavery, but you can't ignore it. But that's how things start. Hitler started in a small place. That's how it starts, because we ignore it. We ignore it, and because it's not directly affecting us. So meanwhile, we ignore it, and it's growing. And by the time we deal with it, it's full grown. It's full grown, and now we try to figure out how we're going to fix it tomorrow, and that's not going to happen. That's just not real.
So, I mean, then what are your thoughts in terms of, I think the question here tonight or at hand was, do we think that the system's working? Do we blow it up? What are some other the issues? Like, how do
you blow it up?
Huh?
I think you blow it up. And I used to never say that. I think you blow it up and you got to get some young faces. You blow it up and you got to get some people. And it's going to take a while. You got to take them through the system, but you have to. Because you're looking at an existing pool of politicians in the forefront where what has changed? Seriously, think about it. And I just, okay.
Every are we talking? Because I guess there's some people who think that, I think there's some young people who may be a little extremist on.
But it's not about age, it's qualifications. It's not just age, it's qualifications. I'm not saying get somebody because they're young.
I mean, just like a fresher ideas.
And find somebody that's qualified. I'm not saying go get somebody because they're young. But for instance, every year, and I'm sick and tired. 2 times a year, whenever one political party don't get their way, they threaten to shut down the government. Well, it's not impacting any of them. It's impacting people down below.
Yeah.
But yet that happens. That the system is broken. It shouldn't be because you're not getting. I'm getting what we're not going to vote, so we're going to shut the government down. So anybody work for government's not going to get paid. Those soldiers who you claim that you love so much is not going to get paid.
It's like they can't agree on anything. It seems
because it's and I'm not disagreeing with you. But how do you fix it? To me, you have to those life terms got to go away. They got to go away.
Yeah, I think
once I get a job for life, you can't fire me. Yeah. Unless I do something crazy upside the realm.
And like you locking in somebody's ideas for that span of time, that's dangerous. Most people aren't necessarily changing or growing their perspective.
Like you said,
and for decades.
And in all honesty, most of us don't grow unless something happens to make us grow. Mm-hmm. And if you're locked into a position for life, what's going to make you grow? Unless you willingly see change. And again, if you're locked in and you beholden to these other organizations, that don't change.
Yeah.
So I think, you got to blow it up, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, man. I think you take your time, but I think there's another Obama out there. There's other people out there who can make a difference. I'm not saying Obama since that he's the beginning, and I'm saying like that, a young candidate nobody's heard of who people can get behind and can agree with the policies and push him to the top, because that's what happened with him. He got out there, people didn't know him. He got out there grassroots. He got out there in front of the people, did the things he was supposed to do, said the things he was supposed to say, and he moved a whole group of people.
Yeah. Do I feel like we could get something like that again? I don't know. I think it's bleak.
Yeah, but how does it change if you say that? If your approach is that you can't, then how is it going to change?
I think we can.
You think we can?
Yeah,
nothing changes. That's like saying, man, I'm poor because my daddy was poor, my granddaddy was poor. It's never going to change. But you don't go out to get a job and never try anything to change it. It's not going to change. You destined to be poor.
No.
And so I think it's, and I think
first of all, why it's hard for me to say, like, why I say it's bleak, because again, I just kind of look at this Biden situation and how nobody's even voicing or saying anything in terms of. I don't think he should be going for presidency.
Well, that's not true.
If you do get
no, a lot of people are saying that the problem with it is they're looking at the alternative. But even within the party, people are saying that he's too old.
Then why haven't they started that kind of?
I started that conversation, but I started the conversation by saying it. Who's going? They didn't groom him. I said that. I started the conversation off.
They saw he was old.
I started the conversation off by saying.
He fell off that bike.
Nope, listen to what I'm saying. I started the conversation off by saying that I'm disappointed in the Democrats because before then, when he ran for office, you knew how old he was.
Yeah,
and you knew the track record. I said it then that they should have started grooming somebody else. They didn't. So I agree with you. The party's at fault for that. They didn't start grooming somebody else. And they should have. Whether it was, Obama made sure Biden got out there. He made sure Biden. So I don't know what's up with Kamala. I don't know what the scoop is with her because you never hear from her. But I agree with you. They failed miserably in getting somebody ready.
And I mean, that definitely should be a thing. Like, maybe that in terms of blowing up the government, that should be a change where they could start kind of.
Well, I think you fix the terms.
For the next person.
Yeah. Like you should not be sitting in the Supreme Court
the next man
for life. That should not be a lifetime job. You got somebody sitting there who once they get in, can and if you get too many like-minded people, that's across the thing, they can change the trajectory of this country for decades.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks like that. That's my point. Nobody thinks like that. I go a step further. You got these senators and these congressmen in there, and the stuff they argue about. And look, man. I mean, okay, if he broke the law, he should be punished. I'm getting tired of turning the TV on hearing about Hunter Biden. Yo, fix the country. The country is broken. People are starving. People are dying, and you sit there trying to dig up dirt in the president's son. Come on, man.
I mean, somebody did eat cocaine.
So now but that wasn't the president. It happened. So why do I care? Why do you care about that? People starving. It's homeless people. I have black people being undereducated. I don't want to go. If it did it, fix it, correct it. But that can't be in the news every day.
Yeah. Again, I think I want to take that approach of being hopeful, but I do see there's probably so many things that need to be fixed and talked about. Like it needs to be addressed. But then, kind of to your point of we got to be active as a people, but then also like internally those people that are kind of, I guess, higher up and in those positions of power got to be, I don't know. Sometimes I think they're really they're just thinking about themselves. It's all about them.
I mean, and Frank had a good point. He says there has to be hope. We need to be, and we do need to be more intentional about our strategy and actions. And I agree. But if everybody just says there's no hope, you get more the same, man. I mean, if everybody walks around saying it's bleak and the world is coming to an end, we just not going to participate, it's only going to get worse. And when you don't, all science does is empower the people who are wrong. That's all it does. Science empowers the people who are wrong. It doesn't do anything else. So if you think you're going to be Switzerland and stay neutral and it's not going to have an impact, it does. Because it gives the person who is wrong has a louder voice. And again, you got to think generational. It's like, when I think about the things I did, how I lived my life, I always thought how it impacted you. I didn't go out and buy 2 Beamers and say, okay, we're going to live in the projects the rest of our life, man. But we got Beamers. No, I you know what? I thought, okay, I got to sacrifice now because I know I want to be where we are now.
So I think a good point that Frank just put up is that he said he thinks probably a controversial statement. I don't think it is, but there's not enough money in politics. They don't get paid enough to do
it's like teachers.
Right.
Well, if you're a legal politician,
right. So he was saying we do have to support good candidates who are trying to change the system. I think there are candidates out there, but again, it's not necessarily lucrative enough for them to be out there, and it's hard for them to kind of get to that point where I know you hear saying grassroots, but it's like how can they even afford that? And I think that's where the point I made before, where it's like these lobbyists come in, big companies, corporate, they can come in and influence people who just.
But they only do what you allow them to do. I agree with you. About
AOC used to be somebody that was considered to be
but they do
next
what
up. She took tickets.
But they do what you allow them to do. Because you know what? But she's a person. I'm not.
They are people.
So that's my point. So Frank had a good point. You got to find a way to make it. There has to be a system in place where if you get a grassroots person, they can support themselves and not go broke trying to run for office. I do agree. Without being beholden to one individual. And they should be repercussions. If like for instance, if somebody's running and they sell out, you got to get them out of there. If I got a lifetime thing, you ain't do anything to me. Or as far as vote, next election, get them out. They put something else in there. We got to stop re-electing people who we know are not good for us. Status quo, because we go in there, we put it to your point, we pull a straight lever. We so busy arguing about Democrat, Republican, Libertarian that we got people in all three parties, and the country's going to hell in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. So it's not even about party affiliation. To me, it's not. I'm a Democrat, but it's not. I'm not going to sit there and vote for somebody that's bad because he's a Democrat. It's not going to happen. Bad is bad. So I think it goes back to starting over again. It goes back to. So I agree. A system needs to be put in place where if you get a viable candidate and he passed the litany test, that there needs to be something in place to support him. There needs to be some kind of mechanism to support him. And I mean, you spend it, I know I'm a controversial statement, you spend $1 billion over the Ukraine. You spend money all over the globe. You spend money all over the globe. So I think you should be able to say, okay, let's get this candidate and support him. But it has to be a united thing. And that's the other thing we can't agree on, because I got to get the candidate that forget everybody else is about what I want, what my personal desires are. I ain't got a kid in school, so who cares what happened with the school system? Yeah. I live in a good neighborhood. We don't have gun violence, so that's not on my radar. And I think you're seeing the results, the accumulation. That's what we're seeing now. And people who are disenfranchised is bleak. So I'm not going to participate until something happens to them. And then we gotta rally the troops. We gotta get together. So I think it has to be, like, to me, and I don't have all the answers. I think you start in school. You start educating these kids in school about the electoral college and electoral process. I learned that when I was in school. You start educating them, so your vote does matter. No, your one vote is not going to change the world today, but if 1 million of y'all don't vote, it has an impact. It has an impact. If nobody in your neighborhood votes, how does anything change in your neighborhood? Because the guy who got the vote ain't going to care, because you're doing nothing. You didn't help him get in office. So his thing is that they didn't even vote. So what I care about them for? So what changes in that community? That's the first thing. I think the second thing is you do have to start holding candidates accountable. He come into your neighborhood, he made promises. You need to, wherever you got to show up and say, this is what you promised.
I think that's a big part of kind of changing the system too. Yeah. Is that holding people accountable for if they don't do something. I think a lot of times we kind of just let things slide, and people get an opportunity to just kind of continue with either going about their own personal agendas that has nothing to do with us, or just again.
Or what I hear people say, well, I knew he wasn't going to deliver anyway. So why did you vote for him? When I hear people say, well, I knew he wasn't going to do, well, why did you vote for him?
Because it sounds good. Talk to me.
Yeah, man, right. That's like if I came around and said,
I had hope.
That ain't hope. You delusional. If I came with your neighborhood and said everybody gonna get a Cadillac, everybody gonna get a pot roast in the pot, and everybody else with a picket fence, and you vote for that, that's not hope. That's delusional.
I mean,
that is delusional, and you have to know the difference. Have a car, but you know it's not real. It ain't got to do with that. It doesn't like, but you know it's not real.
You about to be in charge? You telling me I can get that?
Yeah, but you know it's not real.
Not everybody feels like that.
It's not feels. It's not feels. It's common. It's not. That's not Nick feelings. But that's no. But that's not
thinking logically. We can definitely say people not.
But that's a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem.
You look at Trump, and
but I don't think that's not feelings. That's people who believe. Trump did a great job of reaching people who believe what he believes. He does. Don't people just didn't wake up one day, because he's not a great speaker. Well, he got out there charismatically and won people over. He touched the nerve on a group of people who believe what he believes, and we don't want to believe that they exist. That's the problem. We still think, oh, America is willy. Everybody loves each other. We're gonna see. No, there's a group of people who believe in we can overthrow the government. Who believe in if the government doesn't do what I forget the masses. If they don't do what my group of people believe.
It was a group of people that were angry, and he got them to.
Have you almost said they were trying to hold the government accountable?
Your mom watches all this stuff, so I don't watch it, but I do pay attention to some of the stuff they say. So these guys are just being sentenced to 22 years and 17 years, and they truly believe that forget the masses. What they believe is more important than what the country believes. They don't want to hear that the majority of people voted. It's rigged because the few people I know, we are the majority. We're the ones that count. That's the problem. Because my vote means more than your vote. And so that's where the disconnect comes from. Trump, he tapped the nerve and he said stuff that a group of people want to hear.
The nerve.
They want to hear that the government.
They want to
hear the government is corrupt. People who think it's bleak. Somebody comes in and sells them a bill of goods. We got hope.
That's my point. What I was saying.
But because you got to stop thinking. But if you believe that,
I mean, you were just giving the stream.
No, but I'm saying, but that's the kind of stuff people fall for. And so it shouldn't be an emotional thing. When you talking about putting somebody in office that's going to control, the next 4 years is going to control the country, that shouldn't be an emotional thing. I shouldn't vote for Devin because he's black and he got lots. No, can this dude? I mean, I'm not saying people don't, but that should not be how you do things. That's not how you do things. When you talk about a position like that, who can put his finger on a button and start a world war, but they figured out it's just like I look at it this way. It's like marketing. Marketing has figured out how to tap into a certain vein, a certain group of people, and politicians are starting to feel the same way. They're starting to figure it out. It's like you don't see alcohol commercials, billboards in Caucasian neighborhoods. You don't. And you don't see corner stores. They can run to the corner store and buy beer. You see them in our community with the posters because they know that. They know that. So advertising is geared that way. If you look at certain cars, they knew who they targeted. Why do you think they start playing rap music in these things? They know the population they targeted. I say this all the time.
Rap is dominating everything.
Yeah, but even people who don't like rap understands it draws a certain crowd of people that's going to spend money. It's not that but that's why I cross over. You don't cross over unless it's appealing to people. You don't cross over, and how I cross over is because I don't care how good the rap is. If there's not people who don't look like us on the other side saying it can come over, it ain't coming over. Because that's who spends the money. That's who puts the big bucks behind it and says, okay, yeah, we're gonna put this out here and do all this stuff with it. Look how much money we spend in this country as a group of people. Let's start there. So we can't direct that money to something else.
We definitely. I mean, but how do we even do that? People don't even think that
we gotta get people. That starts with getting people on the same page.
I'm not disagreeing. And I say this all the time. Y'all hear me say this. If every person of color said, you know what? Well, not even every person of color. Let me change this. If every person who's not happy with the political system said, you know what? We ain't going to Chick-fil-A for a month. You better believe Chick-fil-A will get their politics in order. We're not going to Walmart for a month. We're not buying Nike. You start hitting the lobbyists, like you said.
That was supposed to happen with Chick-fil-A when they had their stance and people went right back.
No, that ain't that, man. I mean, the stance they had was kind of crazy. And I got to say this. One of y'all said, we don't stick together, man.
We don't.
You know what? I'm only going to take it this one son. You ain't going to hurt nobody. So what I'm saying is, but the money, we spend a lot of money in this country. Poor people spend more money in this country than rich people do. We just don't leverage our money. They leverage their dollars.
Yeah.
We don't. We buy out of want and desire, not out of need.
And I realize
but you have to get to a point, and it goes back to what I said, and it's going to be a generational thing, like McKinsey. You start educating, man. Like I did with you. You have conversations around this stuff. It's not about us agreeing, but you have conversations. At least give people the information to make good decisions. Then if they want to do whatever they want to do, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's Gypsy Joe, whatever, that's cool. But if you just give up and throw your hands in the air, it's only going to get worse.
So, question for you, hypothetical: if it was a Republican candidate that checked all the boxes of things that you like, you would vote that way?
I surely would.
I don't think a lot of people would say that.
But why be a part of something because you have a party affiliation who don't care about you? Ain't nobody knocking your door writing check because you're a Democrat. That's what we want, so we gonna give you. We ain't giving the Republicans. We gonna give you a piece. No. So when I hear people say that, I think that's just dumb.
Yeah.
That's just dumb. I mean,
and again, that's why it's a feeling out here of why people don't believe in the government, because it's really this blind loyalty to your government, to your party.
Even though the government, that side has not done anything for you for years. It's just because they teach you.
I don't even think people, because what's crazy? People don't even look that way. Sometimes, just think about it. If somebody says, "Oh, I'm a Republican," it's automatic disgust, or vice versa. And a lot of situations, and people just shut down and don't even really listen.
Can you tell me why? whether you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, because I give you the perfect example. The roles used to be reversed. Back in the day, the Democrat was the ones who were counting for slavery and all the crazy stuff. So that's people who are Republicans today because of that. That doesn't make any sense. You're tied to something that was decades ago, that the roles have flipped, but you're still tied to it based on something that happened 40 years ago. That's dumb. And I don't mean to call anybody dumb, but I'm just saying that doesn't make sense, that you don't adjust to like you said, your line of thinking should adjust in what you believe is best for the country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's like you brought up abortion. Abortion is a hot topic. It is. It's a hot topic because you got pro-life, you got people who are not, but you got people who are pro-life who are racist. But you pro-life, but you don't care what happens to a black person.
Just the babies,
so
white babies.
But it's from the womb to the grave. Mm-hmm. So I think you do have a lot of contradictory things out there, and that definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But just ignoring them, just not, it's not going to make it go away. I hate going to the doctors, but when I get sick, I go to the doctors. My philosophy is every time I go to the doctor, they get paid to find something.
It's like, I don't think it is something
I do.
Nobody wants to ignore it. Like, we definitely see it.
But no, you were saying why people don't vote. That's ignoring it. To say I'm not going to vote, you ignoring what's going on, thinking, complaining like it's not going to change. Like
so it's just really just honestly vote for the lesser of two evils, or vote for like that's how you feel.
But you got to start for now. But then you got to start. You got to get involved in the primaries. You got to get involved in your local elections. Probably 60% of those people, it's probably low number, only vote in the presidential election. So you left with who's left. You don't vote in the primaries. You don't vote in the elections who start putting people in place for those positions. You vote when it comes to, it's like when I was in the school board and people would complain and complain and complain. Only school board meeting they came to when something controversial came up.
But they
didn't come out the regular stuff like pass the budget, stuff like that. Maybe some rules need to be changed in schools and things affect. No, but let something controversial. The place is packed.
But like I was about to say, to the point of like the pool of candidates that get there, and I think this is happening. You've seen it a little bit on both sides. It's just these rich candidates getting in there. It's people who got money. They CEOs. They're like
they target.
They don't. Yeah, they're not even. People are not even, and that's on both sides.
Let's use George as the perfect example.
You don't see nothing wrong with that, though?
No, but they figured out to target a group of people who vote. They figured out, okay, this group of people, this demographic of people, they vote. If you look at Georgia was Republicans for so long until somebody mobilized them people who traditionally didn't vote and got them out to vote, and they swung the state, which people said that would never happen. So that's a power when you get people to vote who don't vote. Now, I'm not saying they got perfect, but that's the first step in the right direction. As opposed to just, I'm not going to vote and the status quo thing is going to stay the same. Candidates suck. I ain't going to say and tell you that, man, that we don't have good candidates. Biden is not terrible, but I do agree that, he's kind of, crossed over to, he's kind of past in his prime.
But again, like I said, what do you do when, I think that's a trend now. Like, again, these people who, and it goes right into what we're saying about just kind of capitalistic society. Money runs the world, where instead of these companies or people who have like their own interests, they instead of being behind the scenes and just sitting the money, they just running for these positions now. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what Donald Trump did, and that's what you see now with other rich people. Like, you know what?
There's a movie.
I just want to be in charge. I want to be shot to Elon Musk or
there's a movie called Bill Gates with Richard Pryor. And what happens is he has to spend all this money. He spends like $1 million for a certain time, like $5 million, so he can get $20 million, and he can't tell anybody. And he decides to run for office because he wants to waste his money. And he said something that was to get sued on, and it was funny, but it was true. He says why? And it's not all politicians, but he says, why are you a politician? You worth $1 million, but you're running for a job that's going to pay you $100,000 a year. It don't add up unless you're going to steal. Unless you're going to find a way. So you do see a lot of politicians take the job, rich people, because they can, they get top stock tips or whatever they got to do. And so I'm not saying that there's not corrupt people in politics. I'm not saying that we have the best candidates. What I am saying is there's corrupt people no matter what you do, whether it's a school teacher, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a plumber, whether it's a police officer. And either way, you can't just give up and say, okay, throw my hands in the air. How do we get to the cream of the crop? What are some of the solutions? And we're not going to solve them here tonight between 7 and 8 o'clock.
Oh, no.
But I think you have to get to a point where you're saying, what are some of the solutions? How can I get involved? I got involved, I worked the polls. I thought some of the stuff at the polls were kind of a joke, because I would see people come in there who, like, for instance, you had to do the circle thing now. Out here you got to fuck the circle thing. Some 80-year-old person is not going to stay in that circle. That's just the realization of it all with arthritis and all kinds of stuff. People who maybe can't see straight or whatever, they did change things. I don't think nobody knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at some of that stuff, I do see, what you're talking about. I get the frustration. But when I look at the end results, you got a guy right now that's going to run for president, possibly run for president, and could possibly be elected, man. Who's been indicted on charges, man?
Might do it from jail.
Your mom was watching something, and some of his followers wanted to know why he could be president from jail. So there are some people with the warped thinking, but I'm probably that something is wrong with politics. Something is wrong with politics, but that's your best candidate, or that's who you choose to be your best candidate. And he's leading all the rest of Republicans. I know what people say is a people you poll, but he's out there. But he doesn't lead unless there's a lot of people who think like he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he woke up one day. No, there's people been out there. They just took somebody to light the match. Now, if people who stay neutral, you allow that to grow. Just like if everybody in Georgia said, I'm not going to vote, I'm staying home, they don't win. Georgia don't flip. Because the same group of people who traditionally vote, they're well off, they vote. And what do they vote for? Their own self-interest. They're not voting for better in the schools. They're not voting for homeless people. No, they vote because we want to get a lower tax bracket on us, tax the middle class. We want to continue to fund our schools, our community.
Yeah, I think at the basis of it for me, we mentioned or said this is one, holding our politicians accountable.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not doing what you say you're going to do, you got to go. And then two, like supporting the right people, educating people also as well is like something that we need to do. It's so many different levels and layers of things, but I do think it starts with, we need to start pressing and putting pressure on our politicians, man.
It's like got to go.
But it's like when I watch some of this.
Yeah, right.
It's like what is holding the
don't get my vote.
Holding account. No, but see, this is like, for instance, you watch some of these forums. The candidates come out in the forums, man. Nobody asks them the tough question. Like if I'm out there and you tell me, like I'm like Bernie Sanders, you step to tell me you want to get rid of all student loans. My question is, tell me how.
Mm-hmm.
You if you say it, you need to have a plan to tell me how. Just don't put the pot roast in the pot. Don't just get me excited. Or you got a candidate up there and he's running for mayor, like for instance, and I know this will get me in trouble. I'm listening to the mayoral candidate say, "Hey, we're going to go for year-round school because it's going to keep the kids off the street." Yo, we in August, school just started. You already got 2 half days because of the heat. How you going to go year-round?
Right.
So people believe in that hype, but I'm asking people the same question: how you going to go year-round and you got to close early now because of the heat? And then the second thing is, where you going to get teachers from?
Who's in charge and why are you thinking like that?
But these are people running on that and people buying into it. Yeah, we're going to follow that because we think it's a good idea because all they heard was keep kids off the street. I got news for you. Those kids are committing crime. They ain't going to school anyway. So summertime ain't going to make a difference.
That's going to be
oh, yeah, I got to go to school today, so I can't go out and rob somebody. So I'm just saying, but people jump on it because of the soundbite. Mm-hmm. And I was having this conversation with Nicole. I said, Nicole, think about that. You got teachers quitting now. So now you want to tell them they're going to work year-round? Where you get the money from? You got teachers spending their own money to buy supplies. Now you got to work year-round?
And they still going to continue to do that.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So the whole concept didn't make sense, but you tickled ears with it. People got up there and said it, and I'm going to do this.
But I think that's also a point right there to kind of include within this system being broken is, I don't think I see them investing in areas where I feel our country needs improvement, like education. No, and that's on either side. You wouldn't hear anybody talking about it.
Infuse the prison system, bro. Infuse the prison system.
On either side.
Which one of the most lucrative? Yeah, I agree with you. is one of the most lucrative businesses you can be in. They build more prisons than high schools in this country, man. They invest more. Hey, your mom showed me something last week where some prison they were going to teach them coding. They only teach coding in high school, but you better go to prison and get coding.
Right.
So, and I asked her, she said it's a good idea. And so I asked her, I said, well, let me ask you a question. You can't. Most people won't hire you if you're a felon. So what good is it if you know coding?
And you know what's actually wild?
So what good is it?
That's a good point too. It's like they can go to prison and get degrees and everything. They want to give them all of those.
But I want to go on record
versus on the street.
So, but I want to go on record and say I'm not against
that's
those
crazy.
I'm not against those.
I'm not either, but it's like.
So, but my point is, what you don't is when they were trying to build the prison here in Philadelphia, they were going to build a town down the waterfront. And I remember I went down to the school district and I stood on the steps and I spoke with a group of people and I said the same thing. There's a problem when you're talking about spending millions of dollars in the prison, air conditioning, Wi-Fi, and all that stuff, and half our schools don't even have laptops.
Wow.
Our schools don't have air. So you got to get locked up now to get air conditioning. It's crazy. So I think, but this goes back to the political climate because why we keep electing people who not addressing the issue. So when I got cancer on the stage, that's the question I'm asking. 2 questions I want to know. 3 questions. 1, what are you going to do about the educational system? Because you keep telling me poor education breeds crime, but you're not dealing with either one. But either one. You know, you got a bunch of politics here. What's your stance on gun regulations? You tell me I'm not voting for you. Don't give me no 22 to do about, no. I need to know where you stand. Will you challenge the NRA? Because in my neighborhood, they're killing each other. You know, while he's getting paid off of that, but I don't hear those questions when you see these forms. These don't soft questions. Well, if you're mayor, why you want to be mayor?
What do you think about global warming?
Why you want to be mayor? Why you want to be this? Okay, let's get to that question, but let's get to the hardcore. What are you going to do? How are you going to change the trajectory we're going in right now? And if I'm in a certain community, how is this going to impact me? Because it's great if you get to talk about cutting taxes, but you don't cut my taxes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's great if you go, we're going to cut taxes, but mine ain't getting cut. You know, or when I had people say, yeah, man, because the politicians say, and I had to stop, your mom stopped me because I would get into arguments about this. Man, you know, people trying to get a free ride, man, with Obamacare. Yo, those same people who vote down Obamacare, we're paying for their benefits. They're not paying for their own benefits.
They was taking that Trump shit.
So, but what's the difference, though? So I think, but see, again, goes back to what I said. Folks got to be educated.
Yeah.
And you got to start in school. You got to start educating these kids, man, about this is how the political system works. You know, this is why it's important. Whoever, I'm not saying tell them to vote Republican or Democrat. This is why it's important to pull it up. But pull it intelligently. If you vote, if you're Republican and you can tell me why you're Republican without some hate, crazy stuff and repeating what somebody says, I'm okay with that.
I think it's another part of it too. Is like, as voters, I think we need to do better at coming together on common issues. Because I don't think that.
And we ain't compromising, man.
I don't think we come together that well.
Listening to other points of views, that kind of thing.
But I think we argue with the small stuff.
And that's like,
but we don't deal with the big stuff. But I think what happens is, it's on purpose. It's like you see a bunch of Dobermans, and you throw a bone out there. So while they fighting over the bone, you gonna pass for the whole ham in your back pocket. And that's what they do. They throw a bone out there to get the skirmish going. So once the skirmish starts, we lose sight of the big prize. So what happens is we so busy worried about a little bit of stuff going on that we're not dealing with the bigger issues. The bigger issues is, why are you consistently voting against gun control? Why are you consistently making cuts to the educational system? Why are our kids going to school? They don't have enough books. Why are teachers who don't make enough money as it is got to go in their pockets and spend money to buy supplies for our kids?
Yeah. And you just see money spent in so many other ways in this country.
But we got air conditioning in prison.
Yeah.
We invested, or we build, and I know this is not a favorite one, we build $1 billion sports industry. So if you build a stadium, some of that money should go back to the school system. If you take tax dollars to build a stadium somewhere, some money should go back into the school system. Or at least with the elderly, something should go. You build this, but you getting tax breaks to build this stadium. You making millions of dollars. Equal style almost every game. So some of that money should be coming back to the school system. It should be filtering back into the city. Not just, it should be going back into the schools. Put it in the pot, divide it amongst us.
And again, why are the people that are higher up not talking about this or considering?
Hey man, because it ain't popular, man. Because I like you said, I want to keep getting elected, so I gotta play both sides.
And it's like, again, kind of the point that I was making, again, this corporate interest on both sides that kind of influences people's decisions.
It's like when I was in the school board, and sometimes, and somebody's probably watching, but we would sit in a room and we would all agree on something. And then soon we get out in front of everybody, somebody all of a sudden want to get this great dissertation on why they disagree. Yo, we just sat back here and said, okay, we all don't agree with this, but this is what's best for the greater good. We need to go out there and have a position of unity and stand for the community. Then we get out there, well, I voted, but I abstained now because, and you go down this long rabbit hole. But 20 minutes ago back there, and that happens. Instead of saying, okay, my word is my word. Instead of saying, you know what, maybe I got to compromise, not my integrity, not my character, but maybe I got to compromise something I believe strongly in because it's for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what's lacking, man. It's all about me. I got to get my way. I got to look good, from my constituents. Well, your constituents compared to the greater, bigger scheme, they like a speck of sand on a camel's butt. It ain't really that big a deal, but you worry about this small pocket of people, and the rest of the world is suffering, man. I mean, why do we have all the abandoned houses we have? Come on, we got all these abandoned houses we have, and we, and they just decaying or waiting for some rich developers to come in and take them over and build homes that the people around there can't afford.
It is kind of crazy.
But we got a homeless population. We keep saying we got an immigration.
There's so many issues there, and it's like nobody ever feels like when they address them. These issues don't get addressed
because who talks about it?
And again, we don't come together on one common issue. Like let's which one is the most important? Let's tackle this.
I would probably get kicked off.
I would say education. We got to build up home first, man.
I would probably get kicked off for this because I'm the guy, man. Every time my show came on, that would be part of my conversation. I would have a whole segment. What are we doing in politics? That would be a segment of my show every time the show came on. And my answer most times would be nothing. I hear the same stuff. Well,
a 10-second show.
Was it emergency broadcast thing come across? No, it wouldn't be a thing because I think there's a lot of people out there who can give them a platform, share my sentiment, my emotion, and my passion. That we're just being led to slaughter by a group of people who are selfish.
Yes.
And yes. So, but the attitude, I'm not going to do anything, it doesn't change. There's a lot of times I've been in the wrong, and it's funny because I was just talking about this with somebody. A couple of days ago, we were having a conversation. I said, man, you ever feel like you're in a room and you're saying what needs to be said, but nobody listens to you?
Yeah.
And then when something goes wrong, everybody's like, what happened? Like, dude, I told you 2 weeks ago.
You did say that.
I told you 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
He didn't say nothing.
That's the kind I remember sitting in rooms about 20 years ago, and I'm showing my age when people decided that, we're not going to invest money in this group of kids because they're too old. Well, let's fast forward. Those kids with the investment, guess what? Their parents and the kids we're dealing with now. So some politicians decided not to invest money because it wasn't their personal interest.
I mean, to your point of like the prison system, it's like maybe they want that. They want them to continue to raise kids.
They do. Look at mentoring. Why aren't you investing? You keep, and we talked about this before about statistics. You keep talking about the number of homeless dads or not and how it contributes to all these social pathologies, but you don't have any money going into it. Mm-hmm. But you got money to lock them up when they commit the crime. That's politics. Or crazy. I'm going to cut your program out. Your program is working, Devin, but I'm going to cut it out because you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican now. We can't fund that anymore. That's the stupid stuff that's running our country right now.
Yes.
Like for instance, you complain about jobs, but then you still got politicians investing in stuff overseas. You're a politician talking about more jobs in America, and you got stocking companies overseas.
And like inside the trader, all
it's
day,
crazy.
They hear things, they know what's going on, and they doing whatever they can to line their pockets.
But that's why there has to be level of accountability. If you came to my church and you sat up there on my pulpit, whatever you want to call it, you sat up there and you told me this is what you want to do, A, B, C, D. Guess what? You want to keep hearing me talk about A, B, C, D until you do something. I'm not going to wait for 4 years for you to come back and give me the same speech.
And that was what I was going to say. I'm not coming back to your church.
But that's why I don't have a church. That's exactly why I don't have a church. That's why I don't have a platform. That's why I don't have a platform. Like, I get them on my show and I'm going to ask, okay, you said this. You said this. So what about that? You know, you keep telling me how I'm a product of Philadelphia. I care deeply about the city, and you say all this great stuff. We still got school systems who suck. And it's not. Don't tell me, okay, you can't do it by yourself. Because have you even offered legislation to say? Have you went to these neighborhoods, these people in these dips, say, yo, let's band together and do something about these schools. I need you to show up at the city council next time there's a meeting. Everybody's, I don't care if just 10 people come, but I need some. Let's make some noise. Let people know that we care about our schools.
You're gonna show up in the town hall. They're gonna pull you out. They're gonna be like, you gotta go.
Well, see,
don't give them the mic.
why.
You can't be up here. Step away, sir. Like definitely, because I think to your point. I mean, I've seen some viral videos of that where people are talking to some people that are in charge. I feel like most of the time it's like a school board or something like that. Yeah. But we do need to see it more kind of on the political standpoint where people are.
I give you a perfect example.
Holding them accountable, asking them tough questions.
I give you a perfect example. When the uproar went out here because everybody thought I was holding these prayers at all the schools. Man, it was standing room only. It was to pass the budget. You could do a rock in there and not hit anybody.
Yeah.
But then everybody 2 weeks later complain about the taxes out here. Well, you had a chance to come to the meeting and you didn't say a word. Oh, well, because this black dude out here talking about praying in the Jewish community. Oh, we can't have that. So people showed up and they were so misinformed. So, like some of the stuff they said had no common sense. Like, yeah, he was proselyte. Yo, how can I be on 4 schools at one time? Think about what you just said. How can I be on 4 schools at one time? That's the dumbest thing you ever heard. Okay, the school is closed. How am I getting to schools? I mean, some of the stuff they said, they're repeating, but that's my point. Ignorance, uninformed. You wasn't passionate about me breaking any rules. You were passionate because you didn't agree with what I was doing.
And what's crazy, I'm going to assume maybe they may have been liberals, especially being at the area.
But show up at the other meetings. Okay, but show up at the other meetings that impact your community. Show up when they talk about passing the budget. Show up when it's a disproportionate number of African American kids being left down. Show up when it's a disproportionate number of kids, our kids, being admitted to the honors program. Show up, like I said, defund the police. When that kid brought that gun to the football game, them same people didn't come to the forefront and say when the young black cop kind of saved the moment. You ain't nobody coming out there then. So that's my point. The stuff we rally around, we rally around uninformed ignorance.
Yeah.
But when it's time to show up on a regular basis, we don't do anything sustainable. That's my issue. It's like when something happens in our community. I bring it back to our community. We march. 6 weeks later, man, we back to playing Pokemon, whatever we doing. We back to whatever we doing. I'm just saying, whatever it is. We back. More people know about Kevin Samuels than they know about anything that got to do with politics. More people can tell you what's TikToking, what's TikTok, and they can tell you what's going on in the community.
Yeah. People don't know the 3 branches of government, so you got to speed them up.
Government got branches.
But it goes back to education, and I think, and now I'm going to dig right in Chris's well hole. I do think it's a conspiracy because when you don't teach people. When I was in college, a freshman, I had an economics teacher, and she told me, this young sister, she said, "Let me tell you something. This is a form that America survived on, and is going to continue to survive until people learn how to change it. If I keep you uneducated, I keep you poor.
Yeah.
If I keep you poor, I keep you uneducated, you will always depend on me to provide for you. Based on that formula, you're not going to do anything that's going to go against who's providing for you.
No.
So you may make a little noise, but you're going to be quiet because I want that check.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't going to mess up. You ain't going to mess me up. What you say, you ain't going to help me, don't hurt me. You ain't going to help me, don't hurt me. So we take on that mentality, and that's what's happening. I keep people uneducated about the education system. They don't know. I make people believe that this is the way it's always going to be. I blame it on the building, not the people who can change the construction of the building. I blame the teachers, but I'm not paying the teachers. All the teachers quitting their job. Yeah, they care, but they got to eat. They got to survive. You want to make a difference. Pay teachers like you pay, not this little extreme, not like you pay the athletes, but you got to pay them more.
I was to say they would not be coming to school.
No, but see, I disagree. There's a lot of teachers out there who love their jobs, man. Who even at the poor pay, that if you paid more, you would get more out of them. But they would be more consistent. Yeah. You would attract better people.
I understand that. I was just saying if you were talking about paying them like athletes.
But I'm not. That was an extreme. But you pay them more, they will still show up to work. They don't get paid. They don't come to work.
Because I think there's a larger issue when it comes to us even talking about the system, because it's hard to just pinpoint one specific thing that's wrong. And we did talk about a lot tonight, like where we did talk about just kind
But
of
you pick one and
the
start.
political part of it, just the people that we put in those positions. We talked about the educational part, like how that needs to be. But it does kind of start, I guess, with the types of people that we
I
put
would
into
never.
those positions. So
I look at it this way, and it was my
Right,
first
right,
year
right.
where I'm at now, so I couldn't do it. But when I was at my previous place, I did mock elections. We did mock elections, so kids could understand. Middle school kids understood how the process worked. When we were on virtual, I had two people come on and they argued different points, and people had to vote for them, and they were kind of different things. But so we introduced them to it. You have to introduce people to the system. They're going to make their own choice. And some people will forever be ignorant or misinformed, whatever you want to call it. But there's some people who will get, and it becomes generational because now I'm sharing with my kids why it's important to be involved, why it's important to volunteer, why it's important to respect your community. Why it's important not to throw trash down. I'll probably do what I'm doing. People always say, when you're going to retire? I don't know. I'll probably do FamCom for as long as I can, man. As long as I'm physically fit and I got my sanction, everything. When I stop doing all this stuff for other people, I'll be doing FamCom because I think when you advocate for people, it can become contagious.
yeah, I mean,
when you quit, when you quit, it becomes contagious.
I know. But I think that's why we kind of even do this show and why we had this topic tonight was just to, I think, have a broader conversation about it and get to people to think about it.
Well, I said the
I'm
table.
glad we talked about it tonight.
I said the table for a reason, and I'm hoping to get to a point where we get a few more people around the table, and have a conversation around this because I think it's important. Not just this, but a lot of issues that
I would love to
about.
get some other friends or people like our age too to kind of get their perspective of like what our generation.
Well, not just your age. I got to balance it out.
No, I'm just saying. I said.
I know. I was just joking.
But yeah, just to kind of get.
But I think
what our generation thinks and feels.
I think as we close, and I always tell people this, and I tell the kids I work with, I say this to my staff. I got to train tomorrow. I say, we got to start thinking generational and stop thinking now. We got to start thinking. I ask men and father of a group all the time, what's your legacy going to be? What are you going to be remembered for? What will your grandkids say about you? What will somebody say to your grandkids about you? So we got to go a step further. We got to start thinking generational, man. The choices you make and don't make impact your kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
Because even when you don't make a choice, you made a choice.
Right. I think that's a great point. Like we do have to think in that way or manner, I
do all the time.
When you vote, it ain't necessarily just about the now. This is certainly something that impacts the future generations beyond.
I used to say this all the time. People used to say, I have friends who, you get educated sometimes, you get a little goofy, and they would say, I don't understand why you do what you think will make a difference. And I would tell them, you know what, my kids got to marry somebody. They got to find partners. So, you need to be out there in the fight, educating people, hopefully get enough people out there so they'll meet somebody nice. And then the next thing, I don't want to be 80 years old and I got people looking out for me who can't even spell cat. I think so. It has a generational impact, and I think we don't. For as much as as much as we talk about LeBron gets it. For much as we talk about Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan gets it. Mike said I got enough money for my great grandkids. Now I don't know if he will actually share with them, but we have to start thinking generational. If I do this, how is it going to impact the next generation? Not just me.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. So definitely want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to tonight's episode. Great topic discussion. I feel like we, again, will revisit this and bring in some other individuals to join us for this conversation.
And I'm repping my class of 79 Dobbins. So all you Dobbinauts out there, got to represent.
Who shows that free?
I was about to say.
Too hot to try.
Too hot to try.
You have to be from the time frame. That was a song out, and the song says, I'm too hot to try, baby, but you got it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You gotta be there. It's like McFadden and Whitehead. Ain't no stopping us now. Classes pick a song.
We're talking about like that generational.
No, it ain't. That's the song.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Have a great night, everybody.
Frank, thank you for participating, man. Love you, bro. We gotta connect, man. For the rest of you out there, check us out on Podbean Live.
Follow, subscribe, share.
Podbean Live or iHeartRadio. We're on Facebook,
Spotify,
YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, we're out there.
favorite.
So if you want to rerun this show, if you want to catch a past show, hey, and if you got any ideas for a new show, hit us up.
Yep. Guest topics, all of that. Mm-hmm. Take care, everybody. Stay blessed. Stay healthy.
Yeah, another episode of Above Average Black Man. You should have played this at the right. I could have walked into this.
Yeah. How would you walk into this? You had to walk so fast.
No.
Yeah, this is like a